Hey guys, Connor here, and if you're anything like me, you binge the news. I mostly use X/Twitter, whatever we're calling it, to follow up on everything going on in the world. And there are a lot of reasons to be pessimistic. There's a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of crazy out there, to say nothing of the presidential circus that we're about to go through yet again. But despite all the negativity, despite all the concerning things, the recession, inflation, and all of that, there's a lot of reason for optimism. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, some of which our team at Libertas has been able to participate and drive forward. So I wanted to take a minute as we wrap up 2023 to share with you 23 of the highlights from our organization that our team has been involved in with our partners, affecting positive change in our world and for your families. So let's begin. Let's begin with number one. So after the school closures during the pandemic, parents began pursuing and demanding alternative options to the traditional public schooling system here in Utah and around the nation. That culminated in our home state in the passage of the country's fourth education spending account scholarship program. We called ours Utah Fits All. And this is going to enable families to use up to $8,000 to try things like micro schools, homeschooling, parochial schools, and a host of other education options. Shout out and special thanks to Representative Perucci and Senator Cullimore for sponsoring this monumental piece of legislation that's going to help a ton of families. Number two, to celebrate Independence Day this year, we published the second volume in our Tuttle Twins history book called America's History, covering the years 1776 to 1791. Now, these history books are unique in that they teach kids not just what happened in history, but why it happened and how it matters to our world today. These fun so-called textbooks are fully illustrated with thought-provoking questions to help kids learn from history rather than just memorizing dates and places. Number three, this year, Libertas Institute received its first $1 million gift from a very generous donor. This caps our best fundraising year we've had. We want to thank every one of our supporters and donors for continuing to fund this important work so that we can go help families across the country. Number four, I'm going to be highlighting a lot of our legislative work in this video, so I want to make sure anything dealing with taxes is high on the list. As a reminder, we focus on policy reform in our home state of Utah. We innovate a lot of important policy reforms with our partners in the legislature, and then we go export those across the country to help legislators and organizations like ours around the country implement those policies in their state as well. So we're working nationally, but here in Utah, the state cut income taxes by $380 million this year. And we were really excited to see Senator Fillmore run a bill that put our proposed property tax deferral program into immediate effect rather than waiting for it to be slowly rolled out over a few years. This program, this property tax relief effort, helps seniors make sure that they can stay in their homes without being pushed out by ballooning property tax bills. Super important. Number five, in October, we had the opportunity of hosting former Texas Governor Rick Perry for a visit to Utah's Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers about the benefits of psychedelic therapy, as well as highlight the tremendous research that's being done around the country. Governor Perry encouraged policymakers to consider prioritizing veterans in need of serious mental health treatment, and things like psilocybin and other psychedelics, which are banned by the federal government, can be a huge help to these people. So we're trying to get the government out of the way so people in need can use the medicine that would help them. Number six, our Children's Entrepreneur Market Program is going nationwide. Now, within the next 3 years, you're going to see this program in every single state, over 1,000 cities, serving soon hundreds of thousands of kids. Now, I can already announce that next year we'll be in over 18 states. You can go to children'sentrepreneurmarket.com in the spring to see if one of our markets is coming to a town near you. Number seven, at Libertas, we've gotten a number of bills passed that were first of their kind in the whole country, and House Bill 408 this year, run by Representative Spenlove, was another one for this list. This bill actually expanded upon our previous first in the nation food truck freedom law. It expanded it to all kinds of mobile businesses this year, including mobile barbers and pet groomers and all kinds of things. These individuals, these entrepreneurs, can now get a single business license and then legally operate anywhere in the state. So this eliminates all kinds of bureaucracy so that these micro entrepreneurs can stop getting permission slips from every single city, paying every single city. Instead, they can just do it one time and get to work serving our communities. Number eight, turning to the world of regulatory sandboxes. Kentucky became the third state to pass a universal sandbox after we led Utah to become the first state a couple years ago. while Montana and Nebraska created insurance sandboxes in their states. These friendly regulatory regimes help form innovation hubs that attract entrepreneurs and startups to try new products and services while protecting them from outdated or problematic laws and regulations. They can actually be shielded from these antiquated laws and regulations so that they can develop their business and go to market. Very innovative, and we've been leading the way across the country. Number 9, we released a new guidebook this year, The Guide to True Conspiracies, to help highlight many historical lessons that can be learned from those who have harmed the government, taken their stuff, actual conspiracies, documented conspiracies, as a way to help teenagers develop critical thinking, a little bit of media skepticism or skepticism of those in authority, so that we can realize that similar shenanigans are happening in our day and empower kids and their parents, frankly, to develop more critical thinking about the world and what's happening around us today. Number 10, have you ever used a car sharing app like Turo? It's like Uber or Lyft, except you share the entire car, not just a ride. Now, you might not realize that there have been a lot of issues with regulators, especially on the tax collection side. Shocking. Senate Bill 121 here in our home state, carried by Senator McKell, finally fixed all of that and fully legalized this type of innovative service. I use Turo all the time, love it, got to get the government out of the way. Number 11, on the occupational licensing front, this is the set of laws that the government requires you to get a permission slip from them before engaging in your chosen occupation. Well, Senator Brambill's Senate Bill 35 expanded on the issue of what's called license portability that we've worked on before. So think of people who've been, they have previous experience or a license from another state or a different country. This bill helps them get licensed much faster from all different licenses that aren't handled by the Department of Occupational Professional Licensing, basically trying to help people who have expertise and relevant backgrounds to be able to get to work and remove some of those barriers. Number 12, talking about a 12-year-old. Back in August, this is Jaden Rodriguez, who was disciplined at his school in Colorado for wearing a Gadsden flag patch on his backpack because supposedly it was a symbol that had origins in slavery. Completely wrong, completely ridiculous. Well, we shared Jaden's story to educate the public on the overreach from the thought police in government schools. Ended up being the most engagement we've had from a social media post ever. Over 50 million views this year. I even ended up going out to Colorado to visit Jaden, tell him keep up the good work and good job standing up for himself and his freedom of speech. Number 13, 3 years ago, we partnered with Harmon Brothers and Angel Studios to turn our Tuttle Twins books into a cartoon. And we just finished rolling out a second season. This high-quality cartoon is a huge hit with families. It's full of humor and important lessons. Best of all, it's free to watch. Just download the Angel Studios app. Number 14, this year we gave out 14 scholarships to youth entrepreneurs in 7 different states. Now, these scholarships are meant to help these young entrepreneurs expand their business and go far beyond our children's entrepreneur markets. Each of the applicants goes through a rigorous application process, and they were selected from among nearly 100 applicants. We're going to scale this up big time in the next few years. Number 15, one of our new projects this year revolves around what's called the future of work. This goes far beyond just working remotely. One important aspect of the project is how to provide access to benefits like healthcare to independent contractors. Senate Bill 233 paved the way, unique and first across the nation, for companies to begin providing options through innovative platforms for benefits that are portable and tied to the individual worker rather than the employer. So rather than a W-2, you get your benefits or you lose them if you quit. These would be portable benefits so that these gig workers and freelancers can move around and still have access to benefits. Number 16, did you know that we have a Tuttle Twins magazine? It's called the Tuttle Times. We have now well over 13,000 subscribers. We send it out monthly so that kids like yours can get reading about current events and understand what's going on in the world through a lens of liberty. You can subscribe at TuttleTwins.com/magazine. Number 17, another piece of exciting legislation to highlight is House Bill 57, which addressed an investigative practice known as reverse geofence searches. Law enforcement has begun using this technique over the past few years where they will make requests of a cell phone provider or a company like Google to obtain all the location data for any device like your phone, which is within a virtual fence around the scene of an alleged crime. Now, we think this type of search lacks the particularity requirement on the Fourth Amendment. It's a bulk search on a bunch of people who aren't suspected of committing a crime. So this bill placed a number of guardrails and reporting requirements around the practice. Shout out and thanks to Representative Wilcox for working on this with the first kind piece of legislation that we're going to export across the country as well. Number 18, at the beginning of this year, we launched our Privacy Scholar Network, which brings academics, industry professionals, and other advocates together to produce original scholarship about the intersection of government and privacy. Now, we've already held a fly-in for our scholars, we've published some of their papers, and plan to eventually hold a privacy symposium here in our home state of Utah. You can find out more at our website, libertas.org. Number 19, speaking of privacy, we work with Senator Weiler to protect the data that your modern car carries. Think of like location data where it's tracking where you're going. This was Senate Bill 226, and now this information is protected by a traditional warrant requirement under the Fourth Amendment. Especially important because as we have all these new technologies and all these new toys that are tracking our every behavior, we've got to make sure that police are still limited in how they can access data under traditional Fourth Amendment requirements with judicial independent oversight. Number 20, two different bills this year addressing the accessibility of telehealth were passed, House Bill 152 and 159. The first of these deals with online prescribing and loosens up the rules there. The other one sets up the conditions for how an out-of-state provider can provide telehealth services to someone in-state. Both of these are going to have a significant impact on access to healthcare, especially important with the advent of telehealth and other technologies that can knock down barriers and increase competition and open up the market so more people can get the care that they need. Number 21, Senate Bill 124 is another policy victory in the area of police accountability. Senator Escamilla's bill requires any law enforcement agency to confirm whether a prospective hire has previously worked in law enforcement or not. If so, the prospective new agency must look into the officer's background, including his discipline record, details of the termination, any pending investigations, and if the old agency would rehire that applicant, and if not, why. This will help make sure that some of the bad apples get weeded out. Number 22, home stretch. We already called out one occupational licensure bill, but we also wanted to highlight that there were over half a dozen different occupational licensure bills in our state, which passed this session to reduce the amount of regulation in that space. People have the right to work. We have to remove these barriers. This is an important area that we've been working with our legislative partners on for years, and we've been making some exciting progress. Number 23, last but definitely not least, just a few weeks ago, we received what's called the Gregor G. Peterson Prize in Venture Philanthropy. This $250,000 gift is spread out over 3 years and will allow us to grow our children's entrepreneur markets that much faster. We're so grateful for this investment from the Peterson family, and I want to extend that gratitude to all the wonderful supporters, donors, foundations, and others who give to our organization. None of this would be possible without you. You're the reason that any of this is happening. Thank you. And that's a wrap. There's a lot more, but 2023, 23 reasons, had to cap it somewhere. Despite all the doom and the gloom and the pessimism, there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic and a lot of opportunity to pursue. So our organization has some very ambitious goals for 2024, some really exciting projects that we are developing secretly that we want to be able to launch for all of you to benefit your families and our communities. So stay tuned, and to all of our donors, again, thank you. To anyone who's interested in supporting a freer society and fighting for that to be a reality, please join us. You can go to libertas.org, click donate, make an end-of-year donation, or any time of year donation to support this work. We'd love to partner with you. To all of our donors, to all of our supporters who have allowed us to serve our communities and families across the country during 2023, a heartfelt thank you. We wouldn't be here without you. Hope you guys have an amazing final 2023 and an awesome 2024.